this is just saying the same thing which Dr. Bino said this morning. Climate change is a global phenomenon, but the problems will be very local, and we'll have to adapt and plan locally. So I think she dealt with that very adequately this morning when we talked about the fact that you have to put it into context. It depends on the circumstances that you are dealing with at the time and in whatever place. We look both at the time and in the place because it is a dynamic process. Before we go further, I just wanted to share a little bit I wanted to share a little bit on the issue of the greenhouse gases and the climate change, because I know we still have a lot of discussion about climate change. I think there's general agreement that the climate is changing. We still have some issues with the cause of it, whether it is Paulette mentioned about the pre-industrial. There is still some debate as to whether it is naturally changing, whether we should leave the thing alone, it will find its way, or whether there is a need to pay attention to it. And this is what the real issue is now for climate change, the issues that you have been raising. And so I just want to, and because one of the objectives there was has to do with the arguments for adaptation, the arguments to support the need for adaptation. I don't know how many people are familiar with the 5C slogan for the negotiations. So many people are familiar with the 5C slogan. 1.5 to stay alive. Anybody familiar with that? No? This is what AOCIS was having their bets on. That was the argument that they were going into the negotiations with, right? And it has to do with the concentration of the greenhouse gases and why it is important to have the negotiations, right? Now, I'm reading, when I'm talking about climate change and the science of it, I don't usually give my opinion. I like to read what is being said and leave it to you to judge, right? Because it's a very controversial topic, and I don't want to put my pence into it. So I'm just going to read to you some stuff to kind of put it into perspective. Some climate watchers predict a point of no return threshold lies in the vicinity of 450 to 500 parts per million, at which point the Earth's climate will begin to behave very erratically. And this has to do with why the AOCIS grouping was saying 1.5 to stay alive. Okay? Because it has to do with that threshold. AOCIS is saying if it goes up by more than if the temperature goes up by more than 1.5, there will be no small island states. Right? But the science they are linking that to is the science about the threshold. At what point will the world become a problem? At what point will the greenhouse gases emission, the concentration in the atmosphere, be a problem? Scientists are saying it's between 450 and 500. Okay. Others are now saying that so there's one argument, right, between 450 and 500. Others are saying the tipping point is actually 350, a milestone they got past when Al Gore was still at the desk in the White House. And there's a reason for me saying that, because one of the slides will show you a graphic which had to do with what Al Gore was saying in his what truth? Inconvenient truth. Once the world started seeing large-scale changes like melting of the ice cap and pole, and that's an argument for saying that once you reach 350 parts per million, that the problem began. We crossed the threshold at that point. And the argument is that once the world started seeing large-scale changes like melting polar ice, then the 350 parts per million threshold confirmed what observation was already being suggested, that we already reached too far. And that was in 2010. Right? I don't know if it's too far, I'm just telling you what the arguments are, because these arguments are very important as to whether you believe there's a need to adapt or not to adapt. Right? Now they're saying here that the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere surpassed the threshold not seen for 3 million years, exceeding 400 parts per million for the first time since researchers began tracking the data this year. So this year we already reached the 400 parts per million. I don't know if it's human intervention that's causing it. It's human action